This is a very special evening for me, and it's really good for me and a great feeling to be able to stand up here and thank our supporting MPs and our families. As I said earlier, it's a very poignant part of my life, being affiliated with CRY and being associated with all of you, and it's a professional role that I cherish the most in my life. Most of you have suffered a situation which epitomizes the word tragedy. Yet you've channeled all of your energies to support the cause of this wonderful charity, and that's to minimize the risk of sudden death and to ensure that fewer and fewer families in the United Kingdom will suffer the same fate as some of you have done so far. I don't need to remind you that the vast majority of young people that die suddenly do so without any warning symptoms, and most die from diseases that can be diagnosed during life and for which there are several therapeutic interventions to minimize the risk of sudden death or to alter the natural history of the disease. In this respect, I'm very grateful to our families to raise awareness of this issue and to support screening of all young people in our nation, not just the minority that have symptoms. Indeed, you heard from Hugh Mulcahy that we'll have screened around 30,000 young people this year. I'm aware of several that have been diagnosed with serious diseases during this process, and also that the diagnosis of one young person has led to the diagnosis of other first-degree relatives as a result of this screening program. Apart from your support for our screening program, which is the largest of its type in the United Kingdom, most of your funds are also used in supporting our Inherited Cardiac Diseases Service and our CRY Centre of Cardiac Pathology, which has been pivotal in identifying sensitive methods of diagnosing people more quickly and also identifying novel pathological entities that may cause sudden cardiac death. One of the main ethoses of CRY is to invest in research, education and training. I calculated today on a postage stamp that CRY have invested £4.2 million in educating junior doctors to become experts, and we have had 28 doctors been trained through CRY, of which 12 are already consultants and 2 will become consultants before this year's up. So 50% of these people are already consultants and are already beginning to make up an infrastructure should our health system need it in the future. But some of the headlines about our research is that 600 young people die, and I can tell you that's a gross underestimate. I reckon it's nearly double that. That's the number of young people that die per year from cardiac diseases. Our tests show that 1 in 300 young people in this country has a cardiac condition that could kill them. We also know that the vast majority of deaths are due to electrical diseases, and in this respect, the CRY screening program with the ECG becomes even more relevant. And what's more worrying is that around 40% of all deaths occur at rest and during sleep where there isn't ready availability of a defibrillator. So although defibrillators are extremely important, if we don't identify people early and institute treatment, we may lose the opportunity of saving a young life. I would like to talk to you about 2 very large research papers that are either published or are going to be published. The first one we heard about during the last screening program, during the last conference, the last parliamentary launch. And this relates to sports people. Now, I know we don't just focus on sports people, but I'm talking about this particular program because it's sport that galvanizes discussions about research. And this is a program where 11,000 football players aged between 16 and 17 had mandatory screening with ECG and echocardiography, and they were followed up over 10 years. CRY funded the first author who did this research, and this research hit the BBC News and was published in the New England Journal of Medicine. The first thing that this research identified is that 1 in 280 young males have a cardiac condition that could potentially kill them. The second thing that it identified is that 84% of the young people that were diagnosed through the ECG, which is the cheapest test that you can actually perform in cardiology. Of the 42 people that were diagnosed, 3/4 were treated, some cured, and were able to go back and play football. 40 of them are still alive 10 years on. Only 2 died that we were diagnosed, and these were 2 that did not take the advice to abstain from competitive sport and died during competition. This research speaks volumes of things that we've already suspected for a long time. Now let's come to the other research program that involves all of your work, purely all your work. And this is data in 24,000 young people, all comers, aged between 14 and 35, that have attended the CRY screening program. In this program, we identified that 1 in 300 young people, just as with sports people, have cardiac conditions that could potentially kill them. We found out that if we used the current NHS criterion, that is relying on symptoms, we would have missed 80% of those people. And we worked out that if we diagnosed someone, around 60 people would get some form of treatment apart from lifestyle advice. So it's worth making a diagnosis. And finally, we worked out that it would cost us £28,000 to diagnose one young person with a condition that could kill. Now, £28,000 sounds like a lot of money. Let me just give you some idea of the money that we spend on some rather laudable situations. For example, looking after our octogenarians with blocked arteries and weak hearts. We spend millions and millions and millions on these people to give them 3 years of life. Our government is prepared to pay £30,000 per year to give back 1 year of quality life. Just imagine diagnosing a 17-year-old person with long QT syndrome and giving them beta blockers with as cheap as chips and giving them back 70 years of life. When I say it like that, it really doesn't make, it's a no-brainer really. So I would like to end by saying to you that I don't believe currently, and many people don't believe, that our health service is currently ready to take on screening for 800,000 young people. But what you have done is informed our politicians and our healthcare professionals and our screening committees with some extremely important statistics which will be used to decide whether screening will take place. And what you've done without realizing is that you have progressively developed an infrastructure whereby, should the health service decide to take this on, they could take it on running. Because we have trained 28 doctors, 14 of them are consultants, as I said to you before, many in London, but we've got doctors in Shrewsbury, Wales, Shrewsbury, Cardiff, Swansea, Cambridge, Birmingham, Southampton, Leicester, Manchester. So we've got a spoke now where people will be able to go to get experts. So you should all congratulate yourselves, and we should really celebrate your success. And as I said to you, I'll start with where I finished. This is I'll finish with where I started, sorry. And you can see from the fact that I'm being tongue-tied that this is a very important thing for me, that this whole thing is extremely a poignant situation, and I would like to congratulate you and can't wait to celebrate with you over a glass of wine later on. Thank you.